Hello, and welcome to the PowerPoint presentation, Preparation of the Elite Junior Cross Country Runner. My name is Scott Christensen, and I'd like to spend the next roughly 3 hours with you talking about some important aspects, some key components of coaching cross-country runners, mainly high school runners, but certainly applications to college as well. I want to talk about the scientific training principles, and I want to relate them to what you may have going on your specific team. Now, I've entitled this Elite only because I want to talk more about a runner that has got some accomplishments, some miles behind them. This isn't necessarily about getting first steps in any cross-country runner, more building a stronger performance level. It is about 3 hours, and I've divided it into 4 parts. Part 1, which is basically the aerobic system and the training of it, will take about an hour. Part 2 will look at the anaerobic side of setting up a training model, basically through speed and strength. Part 3 is a question that lots and lots of coaches always ask, and that is, what is a good basis for setting up the peaking period? What does science have to tell us about that? Part 4 deals with some psychological issues, some things that I think will help you on the inventory side, and maybe some motivational tips and the like, in really not only developing a good, solid runner, but also in some team dynamics as well. A couple things about me. That's me pictured there with one of my runners, Ben Blankenship, who just ran a 3:54 mile this summer as a collegian. He runs for the University of Minnesota now. And I have been in Minnesota for the past 30 years. Coaching high school. I think you'll be able to pick up on my Minnesota accent, so excuse me for that, but I was born and I've lived here all my life. I've had solid cross-country teams here, many times state champion in Minnesota. We've been ranked in the top 10 in the high school ratings in the country for 6 different years. We were named 1997 National High School Champions by the Harrier. 4 of my alumni have broken 4 minutes in the mile since they left my program. And, I don't take credit for their sub 4-minute miles, but I do take some credit in showing you how they develop their aerobic base in order to do that. And while this presentation is about cross-country and not the mile, I certainly coached all 4 of those guys in cross-country as well, and we'll be able to talk about how they developed along the way as far as their aerobic and a little bit about their anaerobic components as well. I've also been an instructor with USA TF Level 2 for the past 14 years. I've worked in that program as just an instructor, a lead instructor. I've been chairman of endurance. Most recently, I've moved over to the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association program, and I do instruct in that program as well in the Endurance Specialist School. I was also fortunate to be the junior team leader to World Cross Country in Switzerland in 2003, the U.S. team, and in 2008 I was the lead senior coach when we took the team to Scotland. So I do have some cross-country experience. I love talking about endurance training. There's lots of really good science to support the things that I'll talk about. I've got lots and lots of references that I'll share with you. And I'll try to bring in some examples of what's worked for me at Stillwater, but I don't want to really center on Stillwater. I want to center more on what are the principles and what may work for you. So there will be only an occasional reference now and then to, things that have gone on here. Part one, and this is the monster that we all have to tackle, the aerobic cross-country training model for both the summer and fall. Why are we needing to run so many miles to be successful in cross-country? Certainly, all endurance races are going to have a aerobic component to it, but I want to center this talk on cross-country. Certainly, when you examine some of the events in the spring in both collegiate and high school track, I mean, there'll be similar training principles. It's just that 5K is a distance not run in high school track, so it's got some problems in setting up a training program just by the fact it's further than any track race we run. And number two, it's on a surface that's not, a track. So we also have to address the peculiarities of running on a cross-country course. Now, what are the basics? Well, if we examine endurance races, and we're talking about track endurance races here, we'll talk about the 800 meters slightly. We'll talk about, as a comparison, the mile, and then we'll also talk about what is needed to run 5K, or if you're a collegiate coach watching this, even some things with the 8K or 10K cross-country course. But we call these sorts of races from the 800 meters on up, we call these combined zone races. What you need to understand is there's a certain amount of energy that the body will use to be able to run that far. In other words, the working muscles are a consumer of energy. Now, what they are a consumer of is calories. We measure energy in calories, and the body is supplied calories by the foods you've eaten. Now, if you run at max pace, in other words, the pace that is specific to that individual at maximum effort, it will be a combination of calories that are delivered both from the aerobic and anaerobic side. You could walk 5K, or you could slowly jog 5K, and that would be relying almost exclusively on the aerobic system. But you're not going to have any racing success that way. So in order to crank it up to race pace, you're going to have a significant contribution on the anaerobic side. In other words, the system of the body that does not consume oxygen, that does not need oxygen to fuel itself. Also, combined zone races, using both the aerobic and anaerobic side, have two zones within their race called a comfort zone and a critical zone. Now, the comfort zone is kind of going to get you to the end of the race where the critical zone begins. The critical zone varies from race to race and situation to situation, but generally I think we know that the critical zone, where the race is won or lost, is the last 20% of the race or something like that. But what you have to do as a coach is get that athlete prepared for the critical zone by making the comfort zone as easy on their body as possible. So you have two things to do to train here as a coach. You have to develop their comfort zone so they are comfortable in that early racing zone, and then you have to build the strongest anaerobic system that can be built in that individual to prepare them for success in the critical zone.